One of the important things to know about climate change is that it's disproportionately affecting some systems above others in the world. And Alaska is one of the systems that's being very heavily influenced. For instance, we're learning that small amounts of temperature change can have really big influences on the ecosystem.
It used to be we had 6 months of ice cover. That is slowly disappearing. In 2018, in the part of the Bering Sea we study, there was virtually no ice. That changes everything.
NOAA Fisheries is managing the fisheries well in Alaska. They're some of the best managed fisheries in the world. What we're seeing, though, is that natural mortality is increasing. And so that's in response to changes we're seeing driven by climate change.
The EcoFOCI program has been working in Alaska's marine ecosystems for over 40 years now. EcoFOCI is a joint program made up of biologists and physical oceanographers. We study ecosystem processes in all of Alaska's large marine ecosystems, trying to understand the effect of climate on fisheries and ecosystems. So historically, we were interested in studying fishing because fishing had the most impact on fish survival. But now what we're seeing is that these changes in climate and changes in ocean properties have the potential to have many, many greater impacts on numbers of fish surviving than fishing ever could.
The EcoFOCI program is providing us with a holistic view of what's actually going on. We're combining traditional fisheries surveys with oceanographic surveys conducted multiple times per year and moorings that are deployed throughout the year to collect continuous data.
You've got two groups that are working together, understanding the physical oceanography, currents, temperatures, salinity, and another group trying to understand the larger scale biological entities, fish, and then everything in between. So phytoplankton, zooplankton, and ultimately the goal here is to get a complete ecosystems picture from oceanography to the fish that comes to your table.
So each year a fish will spawn and they release hundreds of thousands to millions to billions of eggs depending on the species. And of all of those eggs that are released, a very small portion survives. Somewhere on the order of 99.9% will perish. So we're really looking in that 0.1% that survives because we want to know what helps them survive and make it to adulthood. One of the big climate questions that we're looking at are some of these bottom-up pressures. And this would include changes in timing of their food. When is it available to those larvae once they hatch from eggs? If there's a mismatch in the timing of when that food's available to those surviving larvae, then fewer of them will survive. And the consequence of that is less fish that will grow to adulthood and then be able to spawn as well as support fisheries in our area.
And that affects the people that rely on those fisheries resources for food and also the communities that those fisheries support.
The impacts of climate change are being felt throughout Alaska, from southeast to the Aleutian Islands and up into the Arctic. The EcoFOCI program is expanding its coverage to provide the data necessary to help fisheries respond to changing conditions.
So our longest time series for EcoFOCI is in the Gulf of Alaska, and that's a 40+ year time series. We have a time series in the Bering Sea that's more on the order of 20 or so years, so 2 decades. And in the Arctic is our newest time series. But we're starting to get to that point where we can see these patterns emerge from the interannual variability, the noise. And not all species are losers in this context of climate change. There will be shifts. So as some species see reductions, others will increase in abundance. And so what we do is we provide, through these long-term time series, information that NOAA Fisheries can translate to these communities to help them be more flexible.
It's really important to understand these climate impacts on the Alaskan systems. So the more data that we can provide that are both real-time and predictive, the better that we can help fishing families and subsistence communities adapt.